All right, so today we're going to really dig into this company AgentForge and some pretty big claims that they're making about AI, becoming accessible.
Yeah, it's really interesting because they're not just talking about making it cheaper. They're saying they want to make AI universally available. So
Mm.
even if you don't have internet access or, you're not super tech savvy.
Right, and at the heart of all this is their main product called Stella. And what's interesting to me is they're not trying to replace human interaction.
Yeah, their webpage really plays up this idea of Stella as like a companion, especially I think for people who might be feeling isolated or maybe they're having trouble sort of keeping up with all the technology that's out there.
That is a fascinating angle.
I think so too. And one of the things that I found fascinating is when they sort of break down the demographics of who they think this would be useful for, they actually talk about how Stella could be really helpful for senior citizens, like older adults who maybe aren't comfortable with, using a smartphone or some of the more complex interfaces.
Right, so you're thinking about someone who maybe could just talk to Stella and get information or set reminders easily.
Exactly. It would be like having a personalized assistant that's always available whenever you need it.
And speaking of assistants, they also talk about how Stella could be used in education.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
Like imagine kids who maybe they don't have regular access to tutors or they don't even have reliable internet to, do their homework.
Right.
Stella could kind of level the playing field in a way that maybe some of those other educational software programs can't.
Yeah, and it all comes back to this idea of, bridging what they call the digital divide, which is
Hmm.
essentially this idea that we need to make sure everyone has equal access to technology and the benefits that come with it.
Right. And that's where that $49 price point comes in.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real attention grabber, especially when you think about how so many AI products are stuck behind, these expensive subscription services.
I think it's totally disruptive, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really challenging the business model of a lot of the AI industry,
Yeah.
which, let's face it, is often geared toward people who can afford to pay a premium.
And it's not like they're hiding the tech behind Stella either. Like, they're very upfront about the fact that they're partnering with ElevenLabs for the voice synthesis,
Oh, that's so cool.
which means Stella can have, like, natural-sounding conversations.
That's so key, though, isn't it? Because if you're going to have something that people are relying on for companionship or for support, you don't want it to sound like a robot.
Right.
It needs to sound human.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head there. And they've also chosen Anthropic's Claude 3.7 Sonnet AI to power Stella's conversational abilities.
Okay.
Now, I'll admit I'm not, a tech expert, but I did a little research, and Anthropic is really known for their focus on AI safety and ethics.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it makes you feel like AgentForge is really thinking about, the responsible development of this technology, especially considering who they want to use it.
Absolutely. Because it's one thing to, develop this cutting edge AI, but it's another thing to make sure that it's being used in a way that's ethical and that's safe for everybody.
Especially for the target audience. And,
Yeah.
they're very open about the fact that Stella Basic is just the beginning. Like, their webpage even mentions that they're looking for investors, for early stage AI devices. So it sounds like they've got even bigger plans down the line.
I think that's really smart too, because it
What?
shows that they're thinking long term.
Yeah.
It's not just about this one product. It's
Yeah.
about creating this future where AI is, it's just part of everyday life for people who've traditionally been excluded from these advancements.
Right. Yeah. That's a really powerful message. And I'm curious to see, how it resonates. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a closer look at, how Stella Basic actually works and what makes it different from other AI assistants on the market.
So, like picking up where we left off,
Mm.
one of the really cool things about Stella Basic is that it's so simple.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's no complicated setup or anything, and you don't even need constant internet access. You literally just turn it on and you can start talking to it.
I think that's a really deliberate choice on AgentForge's part, right?
Oh, yeah,
That
definitely.
they're trying to reach people who might be, a little intimidated by technology, or maybe they just don't have the, newest gadgets.
Right,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
And they're really pushing back against this idea that AI has to be super complex,
Yeah.
and exclusive in order to be effective. Instead, they're like, hey, let's focus on some very specific needs and then design a solution that's really intuitive and easy to use, even if you've never even touched a smartphone.
Yeah, and their webpage actually goes into some pretty good detail about how STELLA Basic works, and it's actually fascinating stuff. It really comes down to this combination of voice recognition, natural language processing, and then they have this curated knowledge base
Okay.
that's tailored to, the needs of those specific users we were talking about.
So instead of trying to be, everything to everyone like some of those other AI assistants out there,
Right.
Stella is really laser focused on, certain tasks and interactions that are going to be most helpful for the people they're trying to reach.
Yeah, like being a patient and engaging conversationalist for, someone who's feeling lonely,
Right.
or providing, clear age-appropriate explanations for a kid who needs help with their homework.
And that's where I think their choice to use Anthropic's Claude 3.7 Sonnet AI
Yeah.
is really smart.
Huh.
It's not just about generating text. It's about actually understanding the context and the intent, even the emotional nuances of the conversation,
Wow.
which is so important.
Yeah, I'm picturing, a senior who maybe is struggling with memory loss, and Stella can gently remind them about, appointments or important dates without making them feel embarrassed or frustrated.
Exactly. Or like a little kid who's just curious about everything.
Right.
And they can ask Stella all these questions, and they'll get really detailed and engaging answers, but it's all tailored to, their level of understanding.
It's almost like having a personalized tutor or companion right there in your living room.
And it's not just about those individual interactions.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
think about like the bigger picture, the impact on families and communities. Like you have a senior who feels more connected and more independent, a child who's more excited about learning.
Right.
Those positive effects can really ripple outward.
It's true. And I'm also thinking about, the potential impact on rural communities or places where internet access is limited.
Oh, absolutely.
Suddenly, educational resources, information, even just a friendly voice is readily available, even if you're miles away from, the nearest town or library.
Yeah. It really is about democratizing access to knowledge and opportunity.
And that's huge.
It is.
So we've got, the technology, the user-friendly design, the social impact, and then, of course, that incredibly affordable price. But is it all a little too good to be true? I mean,
That's a great question.
are there any potential downsides or concerns that, we should be considering?
Well, it's interesting because AgentForge actually brings this up themselves on their webpage.
Okay.
They talk about, how important data privacy is, especially when you're dealing with a device that's designed to be, so integrated into people's lives.
That's good to hear, though. It means they're thinking about, the ethical
Right.
implications.
They're not just, throwing this technology out there without considering the potential consequences.
Right.
And they also make it very clear that, Stella is not meant to replace human connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's really more of a supplement,
Right.
a tool to kind of enhance communication and support,
Mm-hmm.
not a replacement for genuine interaction with other people.
I think that's a crucial distinction, There's always that risk with technology that it becomes too isolating. But if AgentForge can find that balance between, providing assistance and still encouraging real human connection, I think they could be on to something really special.
Absolutely. And, speaking of getting Stella Basic out there and into people's hands,
Yeah.
their strategy for launching this thing has gotten a lot of attention.
Oh, yeah, they're doing this limited pre-order launch.
Right. Just 100 units available, and reservation holders get to go first. So it's definitely created some buzz.
Yeah, for sure.
It is a smart move, though, I think. By starting small like this and really focusing on those early adopters,
Mm.
AgentForce can get some really valuable feedback and, refine the product before they release it more widely.
Right.
And, it kind of creates a sense of exclusivity, which never hurts in the tech world.
True, true. Their webpage has all the details, and it's all
Mhm.
pretty straightforward. You reserve your spot, no payment needed, and then on March 14th, that's tomorrow, reservation holders get that exclusive pre-order access.
And the price is still that same $49 per device.
Plus shipping, of course.
Yeah. But that means people could actually have a Stella Basic, in their hands in less than a month.
That's pretty impressive, especially for a first-generation product.
It really is.
Yeah.
It shows that they're confident in their manufacturing and their distribution.
Yeah.
And I think it also shows just how eager they are to get Stella out there,
Yeah.
and start making an impact.
They're not just talking about it, they're actually doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes AgentForge so interesting. They've identified this real problem, this digital divide that we've been talking about, that's leaving so many people behind. And they're offering a solution that's practical. It's affordable.
It's not about, fancy tech or, making billions of dollars. It's about using AI to actually help people and connect them.
Right, and it empowers people, which is huge. And that brings us back to that question that we asked earlier, could this be the key? Could this minimalist, affordable approach be what finally unlocks the true potential of AI?
Hmm.
What would a world look like if everyone had access to, a friendly and helpful AI companion like Stella?
It's amazing to even imagine the possibilities for education, for healthcare, for tackling social isolation.
It's really exciting stuff. I
I
mean, we're not saying that Stella Basic is, a perfect solution or anything, but it's a step in the right direction.
For sure.
And I think it's going to be really fascinating to see what AgentForge does next, how they continue to develop this technology and this vision in the years to come.
So to anyone listening who's intrigued by this whole idea of, AI being accessible to everyone, we definitely encourage you to check out AgentForge's website.
Yeah.
Maybe even reserve your spot for that pre-order. Who knows? You could be one of the first people to experience this, the future of AI companionship.
And as always, keep those minds curious and keep diving deep. We'll see you next time.